What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Weekend Golfer, the podcast where everyday golfers just like you and myself, we get our voice back. And I wanted to ask you guys something and what we're going to be talking about today. But have you ever really shown up to the course, had a good expectation, been excited about what you're going to do? You get out there and after the first few holes, you're like, this ain't it. Like whatever you were practicing, whatever you were working on, this ain't cutting it no more. But at the end of it, you look back over the scorecard at the end of the 18 or at the end of the 9, and you're able to be like, okay, you know what? This actually wasn't a bad round. That's what we're going to be talking about today. The main thing I wanted us to look at today is just how we can have a good round, even though we feel like we're not playing that well. So y'all stay tuned. First and foremost, what I want to look at is just what will we classify as a good round? I think one of the biggest problems for all of us as weekend golfers is that we defined a good round probably not the right way. We find it the wrong way. A lot of times we're going out there, we're thinking, okay, I need to hit every shot pure. I need to hit it the middle of the face. I need everything just to feel good. I need to go out and make birdies, at least making pars. Yeah, that's true. We want those things, but that is not the real golf that we normally see when we're going out on the weekend. I can even tell you that I can go into a round with that mindset, be super excited about it, and after a few holes, I'm like, okay, this is just going to be a kind of more of a scrambling day, depending upon what's happening. But a good round isn't about how many perfect shots that we hit. It's about how well we are able to manage the imperfect ones. How well are you able to manage if you go a little bit too far off the tee box and now you're moving into, you got to play out of the rough. You're having to play around a tree. Maybe you have to play, more of just like a little, like a quick shot out. You can't really hit through the trees, but you may have to hit a shot out. We've all been there where we think we can hit a punch shot. And if you're like me, I've tried multiple times to hit a punch shot. I've practiced it on the range and I'm still practicing it on the range because it just never works out to where I can keep the ball low enough that I feel that it can come right out. So instead, I may have to just make sure that, maybe I take a pitching wedge or my 52 degree, and maybe I just hit a little shot out back into a good place to where I can play, and then hopefully, try to save at least a bogey, if not scramble back for a par. But at the end of the day, I think we're looking at rounds differently, or the way that we shouldn't. We don't have to come in with so many different things of this needs to happen, this needs to happen. Good golf isn't perfect golf. It's controlled golf. How well can you be in control of everything that is happening as you are playing? I think that is what really we need to focus on as weekend golfers, which will help us define what's a good round. If we were able to look back over at the end of the round and say, you know what, didn't have a lot of good shots today, but was able to scramble out and make a lot of things. Like when it could have been probably a triple bogey, I was able to make a bogey. Or when it could have been, an opportunity to make a par, I made a bogey, but that was also because I had to take a drop shot or this, that, and the third. If we can look at the round collectively and just say at the end of the day, we did as best as we could with what we set ourselves up for. And there's been plenty of times that I've gone out and I'm like 5 holes in and I'm like, yeah, this round is trash. I'm scoring 110. And then I get done and I'm like merely a 91 or a high 80 number. And I'm like kind of shocked at that because I'm like, okay, I felt like things were wrong, but then there's so many different things that are happening. But overall, I look back at it and I'm like, you know what? I was able to help manage the course a little bit better. So I think that's what we really need to use to define a good round. And just kind of wanting to continue in that, one of the things that I think we probably see or notice is that most of our rounds don't really start to deteriorate just because of a couple of shots. It really is what happens afterwards. Our round, it doesn't fall apart because of one bad drive. It's usually what happens after when we know we've hit a bad drive and now we're like, okay, normally I'm hitting about 260, 275 on my drive. Now I need to fix this because I'm like 200 yards further back than what I normally would be because I messed up my tee shot. So now it's like, okay, I have to hit a hero shot. I got to get my 5 or my 4 iron to get 215 yards when normally I'm not in a position to hit that shot, or normally I'm not trying to have to hit that hero shot just to save it. And or maybe it's we missed the green. We hit an approach shot. it was looking good, but then it rolled off and it missed. And then if we know that we're better at chipping than versus trying to hit like a flop shot, then we decide to hit a flop shot and then realize, okay, now we've messed ourselves up because we went right underneath the ball and all the ball did was go up and drop 10 feet. Perfect example of that. On the last round that I went to play, I went with my dad and my brother-in-law. We went out to Charlotte National. They have their number 6 hole. It's a par 3. It's a little bit uphill, has a little water in the bottom of it. And I hit a 6-iron, but I'm thinking it was an okay shot. It ended up being a little bit short from what I had. I realized that like maybe it might have been fat. I don't know. I can't remember in my mind. But I know it was short and I didn't get on the greens. But I'm like, okay, I've been on the range and I've been working on, what my 50 degrees and my 52, my 58, my 56, 52, 56, and 60. I know what they do. So let me try it. And so I'm geared my 56. I'm right at about 45 yards to get onto the green, which should be an ideal shot because usually I've practiced hitting 53-yard shots with my 56. I go to swing at it. All I did was plop it up in the air and it went like 25 yards. So it's a lot of different things of like, it's different practicing it on a mat in the on the range versus actually being in the grass with a lie that is a little bit thicker than what we're normally used to. So thinking through like what's going to work the best, or if you miss like a shot or something like that, or not trying to avoid where one mistake turns into triple mistakes. You never want to get to a place to where you made one mistake off the tee box and you're like, okay, now I got to figure this out. You hit another mistake because you're trying something that you've never done before, and now you've added 2 mistakes on this same hole. Or worst case, now you're just adding those mistakes on there, and you're at a point now where you're double the score limit, and you got to just move on. Bogeys are fine. Like bogeys are okay. If you get to where like you can play bogey golf, most of the time, that's not a bad score. I mean, a few pars obviously we want out there, but bogey is okay. Getting a bogey on a hole every now and then is okay. Doubles is where we get hurt a little bit. When anything higher than that, doubles, triples, that's when our scorecard hurts a lot. But if we can get out with a bogey, if that's the main thing that we think of, even if we hit a bad first shot, bad second shot, if we're thinking, if I can get out of here with a bogey, obviously you're playing to the best ability to make a par if you can. But if you can get out with a bogey, regroup, and get ready for the next hole, you're good to go. Just try to avoid those doubles and just try to do as best as you can to manage what is actually happening in your round and not adding on to the mistakes that have already happened. One bad shot doesn't ruin your round, the next decision does. So whatever you decide to do after that bad shot, focus on what you can do. If you know that you can hit a certain shot at a certain yardage and you're pretty consistent with it, then do that. Don't try to do anything extra. If it's a par 5, and I was actually telling a friend of mine not too long ago, actually, like if you got a par 5, if that means you get one extra shot to try to get this ball in the hole. Meaning you don't necessarily, because you're 40 yards behind me on the tee box, you don't have to necessarily try to get, a 3-wood or a 7-wood or whatever and try to make up some distance. Just put the ball where you can put it. If you can hit a 60-yard shot, put your ball to where you can get to where you want to be, and then you chip on. That's still a green in regulation. Get out with a 1-putt, and that's still a birdie. So it's a lot of ways of being able to just manage and not let the damage of one shot ruin the rest of your round. So after a bad shot, your only goal is like, where can I get back in a good position for myself to do well? All right, so the next thing that I wanted to just kind of dive into is, of course, one of the things that we have all struggled with. It is not the easiest thing to control in some capacities, but it is the emotional control on the round. And this, I definitely am sure there's like the biggest separator for, like, it's not the swing, it's the talent. It's like, we hear that thing of like, it's not your swing, it's not your talent, but it's how you respond. Like, we hear that and it's tough. It's way easier said than done. But there's multiple times, and including myself, where I have to take a minute and pause, even in a round, if things are not going the way that I want it to. And I just have to stop getting to a place where I'm getting frustrated. Or realizing or looking back over the hole and just thinking through, okay, what did I mess up? How can I fix it? I'll give a prime example for my last round again at Charlotte National. This was the first round that I played with the new QI10 driver that I have. Um, Ever since that day, I have been kind of really working on at the range of more of the path that I have of fixing my path, and I've gotten to a point now where I feel very confident with that driver. I've had probably at least a collection of about maybe 20 drives, and I'd say all but like two of them look as about as normal as my shot normally would be. I've had some that have been straight. I've had some that have faded a little bit. I've even had one that or two that drawed. I have a few that have, I lost to the right, and a few that I've actually over pushed and lost to the left. But what ended up happening was I realized at that course at Charlotte National that day that there were some things I needed to work on with that driver of getting a better feel with it. So of course, with going to the Concord range that I'm not too far away from, been able to spend that time and work on that driver playing virtual courses so I can actually in my mind picture out where I want the ball to land, using the technology of Top Tracer to be able to see where it lands, get the data on it, all that good stuff. um but that all came from the frustration I felt from that round that I played a few weeks back at Charlotte National. And at the time, yes, I was definitely frustrated. I mean, you're hitting a tee shot and the ball's sailing off to the right, and you're like, okay, there's another lost ball. You hit another shot, and then you're like, okay, let me just. You're doing so many things, and at this certain point, you're just like, I kind of want to be done. Or if you're a good weekend golfer, you're at that point where you just want a beer and just have get a little bit more of a time. But you want to figure out the best way of just being able to just take a moment and figure out just what works the best, and not getting too high or too low in what's happening in the round. Um, and then also the biggest thing that I feel like we also struggle with as well is trying not to carry the bad hole into the next hole. Um, Again, prime example, talking about that par three, number six. Knowing that I've been hitting this shot and I've been working on it for a lot of time at the range of trying to figure this out with this wedge, and then I end up hitting a 20-yard shot, and I'm like, okay, now that just put me at a double at best to try to save this out. We go to the next tee box, and I hit a driver, and it fades right out. Well, it slices, honestly. It wasn't even a fade, but it slices right into the tree. So now I'm like, okay, not only did I just put a double on the scorecard, but now I'm already having to take a drop shot because I know that ball is gone. And then just to be safe, I hit a provisional just to see what happens, to try to kind of correct some things and maybe push the ball a little bit out to the left, dragging my left arm a little bit harder to make sure I get the ball and get the face center at impact. I ended up doing the exact same thing. It goes a little bit further, but it still slices it out. Luckily enough, I ended up seeing when we drove up. I don't know how it happened, because this things happen where you hit a ball and you think it's gone, but somehow it kicks back out because of a tree. Or maybe it was the little girls that were walking in the trees in the woods finding golf balls, and they threw mine back out. If it was y'all, appreciate it. But my ball ended up being in the fairway right before the women's tee box. Obviously, not where you want to be distance wise, but it's in the fairway. But that was a whole thing of just taking that hole that I knew I just put a double on, and my mindset was already not cleared out of that just happened. So carrying your hole forward can be tough, and we have those makeup shots like, oh, let me. I mean, most of the time when we're playing, I feel like most of us are using mulligans. Like, hey, let me try that again. Call it a breakfast ball off the tee if you're on the first tee box. But we have those makeup shots, but again, it that can either go good or that can go bad, because the one thing that'll happen is that either you hit a good shot the second time and you're like, well, I should have done that the first time. Now you're mad that you didn't do it the first time, or you hit as worse, or if not as bad as the second time, and you're like, okay, I just suck. So there's not a win-win in that situation most of the time. You can't. So with the big, like, one of the things that I just want to kind of say with all of this is that you can't bring the last hole to the next tee. Golf punishes emotions more than bag swings do. If your emotions are all over the place with it, you're upset, you're mad, you're irritated, everything like that's going on in your mind, you're not focused in on what this hole that you're currently on is asking for you to do. If you're focused still on what happened previously, you're not in the right headspace to focus in on what's ahead of you now. Because at the end of the day, you can't go back and change what just happened, but you can possibly affect what happens here. And like the bet, the key, One of the best things I'll say about it is that if you get on a par three and get a double, if you go on a par five and make a birdie, if not possibly, potentially, depending upon how well you play, an eagle, like that is completely going to change everything because you just made a double, but now you scratched it off at least with a birdie, taking one of those points back in, dropping one of those scores back off. Or if you somehow can manage to make an eagle, you've erased that last hole at that point. So it's really it's really intentional about what are you trying to do and what's right in front of you. So and the biggest thing that I'm even trying to do now, I even do it on the range, and I'm sure people probably think I'm crazy, or they're like, why is he doing this every single time? I go through my routine every single time I'm on the range, through every shot. Meaning, like the whole swing routine that you do before you actually hit the golf ball, I go through that for every shot, whether I'm just hitting my practice round of 5 shots each to get my dispersion rate on Top Tracer, or if I'm actually playing a virtual course, I go through my whole routine every single time. I take a deep breath and I reset what I'm trying to go after. I do that every single time, so that way it just becomes like second nature. When I go on the golf course, I'm doing the exact same thing. Everything has the same feel to it, but it also allows me to just recenter myself and be calm as I'm going into the next hole. So again, kind of a longer portion that we were talking about right there, but the emotional aspect of it is just trying to keep our emotions under control. That's another part of that damage control, of just keeping our emotions in check, not worrying about what we just did on the last hole, but bringing this hole back together, taking a deep breath, walking maybe a little bit slower, or taking that moment to just kind of reset. One thing I've actually even done in the past is that if I hit maybe I had a bad hole, I hit my tee shot and I'm okay with it. I won't, if I'm playing with people, I actually won't, I'll tell them I'm walking it, because I know in my mind I'm still thinking about that last hole. So I give myself time as they're driving up. I'll walk to where I need to go, and I'll just take that moment just to kind of decompress and just kind of walk it out a little bit. So walking is also good and helpful for you, but do what you need to do to make sure that the emotional aspect of your round always stays under control. All right, so I have a hard truth for all of my weekend golfers. The hard truth that I want to share with all of you guys is that you are not going to hit the ball perfect today. When you go play your round, when you go out to play golf, whether you're playing it on the weekend, maybe you're playing it on the weekday, you are not going to hit it perfect today. That is a good thought to already just have, is I'm not going to hit the ball perfect. So I'm just going to play the best way I'm play the best I can. I'm not going to hit it perfect, but I'm going to play the best I can. Reason why I say that is because none of us are on the tour, and even the tour pros don't hit it perfect all the time. They may have a lot more opportunities and more perfect feeling shots than we do, but we're not going to hit the ball perfect. If we hit it perfect, then by all means, kudos to you. You hit a perfect shot. But we need to stop going out to the range or going out to the course planning like we're going to be hitting the ball perfect. And even the difference between going to the range and then coming back in, and like we've been on the range, we probably went out once or twice that week, and now we're getting ready to go out and play, and we're thinking, okay, everything I was hitting that ball, I was hitting, my driver 275, I was hitting my 3-wood at about 245, hitting this, hitting that, hitting everything pure. That's great. But a prime example can be like I can hit my 2-iron way better on the golf course than I can on the practice on the driving mat. Because prime example of yesterday, when I went out to the driving range, I was trying my 2-iron just because I hadn't hit it in a while, and it felt very awkward because I haven't hit it. And so I realized that's like on the golf course last time I was hitting them up in the middle of the face and it was working fine. But now I'm not hitting that. So I can't plan to get on the golf course and just know that my 2-iron is just going to work, because it may not. And so if you hit a fade, and what I'm really all trying to get us around on this hard truth is just that we got to play our miss. So if I play a fade, so I naturally aim for a little bit of a fade. There's times especially now with I'm over exaggerating in my driver, the motion of the path that I want, the correct path where you come in and you're hitting almost out on the ball. Like even with my stance, like I've tweaked a lot of things in that, and but naturally, like my ball does tend to fade. So I play for a fade. Like even on the virtual course, on the rounds that I play, I'll slide, on the screen, I'll slide it a little bit to the left. In the event that it does fade, I'm still in good position. Or if it even goes straight, I'm not terrible. So like that's I know what that is. Like I know like I'm not gonna hit a perfectly straight shot, but I know I'm probably gonna hit a fade. Worst case scenario, I'm hitting a slice. But I'm giving like my aiming point is based off of that. If I'm, if you miss to the right, like if you just like if you completely miss, we've all been there. Almost, I feel like 70, maybe 80% of golfers right now are right-handed. So our miss is a slice. And if we miss that way, then give yourself space. I have a buddy of mine who would almost aim completely, like if we were going like everybody knows Augusta, so I'm gonna just pick this one of the hole. The first hole at Augusta, the number one hole. Everybody knows Augusta. If you not don't know it, you can look it up. But a picture like you picture the first hole at Augusta, you have the trees and the galley, obviously the people. But you have the trees going up to the left side and the trees going up to the right side. But you have a little bit more room on the right side before those trees start. Before you get to that bunker, that's probably at about what 175 to 200 yards in. And like my friend would aim probably almost borderline to the left trees, if not to the people, just because he knows that his ball is naturally going to fade out so hard that it is essentially a slice. If that's what you miss, then play that. Because if you know that you're in the fairway and you're in a good spot to hit the next shot, then play your miss. If you know that's what, if they you miss that every single time, like if out of 10 holes, if you know your miss is right, play the miss. Because then you might be in a better position to not be in the trees. You can actually be in the fairway and have a better chance of hitting the shot or hitting the green in the regulation that you want it to be. And which again, I will never recommend for anybody to aim at the area of trouble. But if your miss is that, do what you need to do. I will say aiming at the trouble is not necessarily a good idea, and I don't necessarily mean like how my friend aims at the trees. I mean aiming at like, oh, let me hit over the bunker, or let me hit, over this water or something like this. Maybe it's a creek or something. Like I don't want to use the hazard as an aiming spot. I want to know how far it is, of course. Um, and unless I know that I can carry it, then I may necessarily, I worry about it. But I'm not using that as an aiming point. Prime example of that is number. I'm trying to think. I think it is one, two, three, four. Well, possibly. There's number. So number four at Charlotte National here in North Carolina. Number four is a dog leg to the left, and there's a chunk of trees that sit out to the left side, and you can play right at it, and it'll put you right over the fairway. But if you play with like right in it, you're cutting off a lot of the hole, which is fine. But that is an aiming point, but I don't necessarily, I know my ball is not going to end there. That's the thing I'm trying to get us, like, kind of really trying to say right here in this moment about not aiming at the trouble. Like, I may be kind of looking at that as my spot, but I'm not going to, I'm aiming from it almost, if that makes sense. So, like, I know my ball, if it goes straight, then I'm in the trouble spot. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, if it goes straight, then I'm there. But I know that the ball is going to fade a little bit just because of how I like a fade anyway. But if you know your ball is going to veer away from it, then it's fine. But don't, think that you're going to hit a perfect shot and then you're into trouble. It's like you're just putting yourselves in a difficult position. Let's say I hit, like if you hit your driver, dead straight every single time and you're aiming for a bunker, that's just not smart. So, but play your bad swing, play the bad swing, well, play for your bad swing, not for the perfect one. Because again, we're not perfect. We're not hitting all these things. All right. So the last thing that I just wanted us to kind of to hit on here is just the simple strategy shift. It's kind of like collecting all of what we've talked about so far. Um, into just making sure we're like again we have those good rounds when we go out. But when you don't have your best stuff out there, like when we go out and we play and we don't have our best stuff, the good thing to do is just to simplify everything. Small practical things that we know that we can do. I don't have my best stuff, but let me just aim for the middle of the green. If I know my miss has just been going right, I'm just trying to aim for the middle of the green. Let's just simplify it, hit a simple shot, get it in the middle of the fairway or get it in the middle of the green. If things seem to be going shorter or like you've hit a few shots and you realize like the distance that you've been hitting, like a 7 iron, is a little bit shorter today, then club up and swing a little bit smoother. Um, Use your most trusted club off the tee. There's been plenty of times that I've gone out with my brother-in-law to go play, and he's used his 6 iron because that is his trusted club ever in his bag. And that club will give him more quality and more chance of having a better score on the hole than sometimes his driver will. So if you have to do that, by all means do that. There's a particular hole at Charles T. Myers here in Charlotte that I believe it's number 5. I think it's like the first par 5. I can't remember, but it's the one after you hit the par 3. For all of my Charlotte golfers out here, you can help me out with that one. But it is the one after you hit the par 3 with the water on the front, and you come around and drive through the road, and then I want to say it's number 5. I believe it is number 5. But it has a blind, you have a tee shot, but you can't see the next section because of the hill. I have never hit a driver on that hole. I have always either hit maybe anywhere between a 6 to a 4 iron to start off that hole, and then use maybe a 3 wood or something to get down to the next portion. But I have never hit a driver on that one because I can't see it. But also, I know if I just want to get in the middle of the fairway and get a little bit further down, I mean, I can just hit a little iron and get one of my high irons and get down there. Like that's just what's a trusted thing that I can do in that, and I can repeat that every time I get out there. Um, and of course, the simplest thing of all is keeping the ball in play. I mean, you don't obviously we don't want to lose golf balls because for one, you paid for it. You paid for that golf ball, whether got it from the shop or the store, or you maybe you found it on the driving range and was like, I'll use this as a water ball. Like at the end of the day, nobody wants to lose a ball. So keep the ball in play, and our boring, simple golf rounds can honestly save us on the scorecard at the end of the day. If I know that I can keep a simple shot and not try to do something that I don't normally do, then and I'm on the green, and then I have a good chance of making a putt, if not par, I will take a par more times than not than I will take a bogey. So keeping things as simple as possible is going to be the best way to really, take care of everything that we need to on the golf course. So just to kind of collapse all of what we've been talking about, we want to stay on top of the damage control. We want to keep everything, um, not expounding upon the first mistake that we've made. We'd rather have one mistake on one hole, not three. We'd rather keep our emotions as best as possible calm and in check as well, and not taking that bad hold right into the next one. And then we end up in turn having a full bad round. And then just keeping everything as simple as possible. Like, how can we just hit the necessary spots we want to hit, aiming for the middle of the green, clubbing up and swinging smooth. Just doing those simple things. Like that's the best way that we can make a good round. And I think over time period, if we consistently can kind of develop ourselves as weekend golfers in that space to where we're just focused on the simple things and enjoying the time that we're out there, because any day on the golf course is a better day to be in the office. It was better than being in the office. So the simplest way of doing everything is just going out there having fun, and you'll be surprised how much your round just feels a little bit better, not focusing so much on those guys. Like we've seen all those videos where they're smashing clubs down and breaking clubs or doing all these random things. Like there's no need for that, first of all, because golf club, excuse me, cost way too much. And I've done that in the past. I've been a victim of that, but at this point, like I'm just like, that was a crap shot. Okay, now let's figure out the next one. Like it's at that point, because I can't fix it at that point. Once you're on the golf course, you can't fix it unless you're just one of those guys that takes 35 mulligans and says you had a score of 52 on the front and the back nine, and now you're lying in the tournament. But we're not going to talk about that on here. All right, so wanted to end this podcast. Kind of what I was going to do in the last one was the round recap. So I had mentioned previously that I had went out to play Charlotte National Golf Club not too long ago, but just kind of want to set the scene for you guys a little bit and give you guys like a quick round recap, and even talk about some of the things that I had to realize that I was defining, what was helping me define my round. So this day, a little bit of a kind of a hectic, more hectic Saturday. I had got set up to get a haircut right before the RT time. RT time was like at 2:20 or something like that. I think I got at the course at like 2:35. because from the distance that the travel was. So I was playing with my dad and my brother-in-law, and I caught them on hole number three. So I had already missed the first two holes, trying to get things squared away, but I finally get out there and I'm starting on hole number three, which at Charlotte National actually is a par three, which never fun. But no warm up, nothing like that. Just walk right out there, grab some clubs, and was like, all right, cool. We got 145 yards or 150 something yards. I can't remember how much it was. Um, but we get our round started. And so, but I was excited, obviously, ready to go play golf. This is like one of the first few rounds of the year. Excited to get ready to go play. And we're starting off not too bad. I'm also excited because this is the first round that I'm playing with my new driver. Of course, that eventually didn't go as well. But there was obviously some early struggles going on. So we played the first hole. I think I made out with a bogey or a par. I'd have to look at my 18 birdies to see what the scorecard was. But I know that it was not ideally the best round. I know the biggest highlights that I remember from that round was that there was a lot that I needed to grow with the driver, which I have spent a lot of time on that because a lot of those driver and those tee shots were not going where I wanted them to go. I had mentioned previously the shot that I hit, my second shot on number six, I believe, where I was supposed to hit. All I needed to hit was like a little 50-yard shot uphill to get onto the green, and I hit it 20 yards, and now I had to double chip. So, and then the next hole, losing the ball off the tee. So, like, there was already things that were happening, and I even had to try to adjust as best as possible. Of like, okay, because I guess that's what you would consider the famous hole at Charlotte National is when I believe you get to number eight, if I'm not mistaken. It's hole number eight. Your tee box is set up at about it's up on a hill, and then you're teeing off like downhill, maybe like I don't know, maybe somewhere close to like 50 feet or something like that. Like you can, it's a big dip, enough of a dip that you can notice it. Um, but there's a lot of area in the right side of that fairway. So I'm like, okay, obviously my driver hasn't been going too well today. I know my three wood I need to get regripped because and reshafted because I have just not like the feel. I haven't liked the feel of that with my three wood. And I know I wasn't teeing off with that because that was just going to be a disaster worse than the driver was. But I want to work out the driver as well. So hitting the driver, I ended up hitting it to the right, but it was okay. Found it. Found the ball sitting on the right side, a little bit in the muck. Hit a shot. I think it was a 7 iron. Hit the 7 iron, trying to hit it about 158 ish or so, a little bit, almost 160. Bled off to the left, but I ended up making a birdie on that one because I was able to chip close and then and let it fall. And well, no, it was par on that one. It chipped close, and then I was able to putt one time for that one, but I can't remember if it was a par five or not. But those are just like those things of the adjustments that you're just kind of having to make on the fly, but also having to manage the emotions of it. And then the worst thing I can tell you was um, we're playing and you get on a hole and I think it was like 13 or 14, somewhere getting close to the on the backside because we couldn't finish all of it due to the sun going down and the time constraint. This was right before daylight savings time. And there was one hole we were playing. It was like a par four, and it was cart path only the entire time. And of course, the way that my driver was going, the cart path's on the left side. My driver took the ball to the right. Actually, didn't even find the ball. So I lost the ball, and I'm like, all right, okay. So now we're struggling a little bit again. Lost the ball. I walk all the way back. In my walk, I'm trying to prepare my mind of just like, okay, I've lost the ball. Can't do nothing about it. Let's just take a drop where I believe the ball went out and hit a shot up to the green. I hit the shot, it falls short. I chip it, it runs a little bit long. I ended up making a two putt. I don't even know what the score was at that point. I put it down on the scorecard, but it wasn't going well. So, but those are those things that you just kind of understand and learn throughout the process of the round of like, okay, I'm not going to get it any better. It's not going to get any better, but I can control how worse it gets. That's the key thing. The round's not going to get any better, but I can control how worse the round gets. So just trying to avoid again those blow up holes. And I know I didn't play great, but I didn't let it get super bad to where things are breaking and stuff's going horribly wrong. And at that point, I'm getting kicked off the golf course. Like it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't that good either. All right, so I'll say all of these things and everything that we talked about today. First and foremost, I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast episode. And if there's anything that you guys want to hear about, definitely let me know in the comments below. Reach out to me either on TikTok or on Instagram at The Weekend Golfer. Definitely let me know. But if you're playing this weekend, remember these few things. You don't need your A game to shoot a good score. You know, you just want to keep the ball in play. Taking a bogey is okay. It is not the end of the world. And then making smart decisions, just making sure that you're playing the way that you know you can play. Our good rounds aren't built on perfect swings. It's built on the smart decisions that we can make. So if this episode has helped you or helped anybody that you have possibly have known about or knows that they're playing golf and it will be helpful for them, go ahead and share that with them. Let them know that they can subscribe and follow and get all of the content that is coming out from The Weekend Golfer about weekend golfers for weekend golfers. And if you're not already a part of the Weekend Golfer Clubhouse on Facebook, you need to join. It's a place where we can get a whole bunch of golfers together just to talk about real things that we deal with, even connect about some people that may want to go play golf this weekend in your area. They can connect. But again, this is The Weekend Golfer, where everyday golfers get a voice, and I hope you guys have certainly enjoyed. Y'all be blessed.